Hi, everybody. It's Proline, the weekend edition, actually the NBA playoff edition. I'm Dave Koken from Jim Fight Sports. John Creighton is here. We are going to kind of break down what we have for the NBA final series between the Dallas Mavericks and the Miami Heat. We'll let you guys know, by the way, that we've got selections all weekend long at ProLineTV.com. That includes the holiday as well, as this will be our only edition through Monday, which is Memorial Day, and we'll take this opportunity to wish everybody a happy and healthy holiday. Then on Tuesday, they get underway, John. It's going to be a lot of fun as the Dallas Mavericks, the Miami Heat, hook up. It's too bad from Dallas' standpoint. They're probably wishing this was a regular season game. Amazingly, Dallas has won 14 straight regular season meetings. Absolutely incredible. But winning regular season meetings against this Miami team hasn't meant a whole lot, as we've seen in the playoffs so far, because Miami's doing pretty well against teams they didn't do well against in the regular season. And, of course, a little bit of deja vu here. Different players in some cases, but Dallas and Miami met in the 2006 NBA Finals, and that's the one that got away from the Mavericks. They had the lead. Miami came on and eventually won the championship. Miami's going to be the favorite in this one. Obviously, they have the home court advantage, and they're on a roll right now. Let's kind of look at both teams and what they bring to the table. Let's start with the Dallas Mavericks, John.
Yeah, the Mavericks, one of the keys for this series that I see would be 3 points, would be depth, 3-point shooting, and rebounding. And Dallas does have an edge with depth here. And with respect to rebound, this is going to be the facet that I'm going to be watching. This Miami team, they're not a tall team, and they have been smacked around during the regular season by taller teams. Now, we really haven't seen that much in the postseason outside of Game 1 against Chicago, and they got destroyed on the boards that game. But let's face it, that was not a very big Chicago team. But if you remember, coming into the playoffs, one of the knocks that I heard about Miami, a lot of people said, was that they're a bit of a fraud team. And the reason was when the Heat, if you remember, when they played really good teams during the regular season, they lost most of those games.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of people who doubted whether they could win games at crunch time and get it this far. Well, they have in the postseason. But what's going to be interesting in this series, I think, is the rebounding factor, because, you look at Chris Bosh at 6'10", 6'11", he's skinny. He could be a forward on most teams. That's your center position. Now, they really haven't faced tall rebounding teams in the postseason, particularly with Chicago. But look what they're facing here with the Dallas Mavericks. They got Dirk Nowitzki up front. Tyson Chandler is 7'1". Brandon Hayward. So they're going to throw 3 7-footers at them. I would go ahead and call this a potential matchup problem for the Miami Heat in the low post.
Well, I would agree with that. And the other thing is, we saw what they did, and give Eric Spoelstra a lot of credit here. Early in the series with Chicago, Rose was just running around unchecked, basically. And they really packed it in and took away his maneuverability. I don't think they had any fear of some of the other Chicago players offensively, particularly Chicago from three-point land. Let's face it, the Bulls couldn't knock down those shots. Dallas can shoot the three. They've got guys who can line it up and knock it down all night long from three-point land. So this is a more difficult series for for Miami in terms of the matchups. Obviously, Nowitzki is going to be a handful for anybody, but they can't just pack things in and focus only on Nowitzki, because they can get killed on the outside by guys like Terry and Peja. I think this is a more difficult matchup for Miami. And what we saw in the regular season, I know it's two different things, and we just saw them basically destroy a team that had handled them in the regular season. But I do think that this is a series where what we saw in the regular season is still going to be a headache for Miami in this series, and they're going to have to make some kind of adjustment. If Dallas is free to shoot the three-pointer, they'll win this. Okay, and obviously they can miss the shots and things can go awry, but I think Dallas has an advantage if they're able to shoot that three. Now, if Miami makes adjustments defensively, which you assume they will, because they know they can't let Terry and Stojakovic stand out there. Well, then that could free up Dirk to do some things. So I think this is a more difficult matchup for Miami. They're still the better basketball team coming in. And let's face it, this Miami team is kind of built for the playoffs. They really are. So I still think Miami's the favorite. But for those who are saying, well, this is an easy series for Miami, they've already gotten through the two toughest teams in Boston and Chicago. I would disagree with that. I think Dallas is perhaps the toughest matchup they were going to have out of the Western Conference. And I believe they're going to have their hands full here.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, the point about packing the paint and the 3-point land, that goes together. What Miami did against the Bulls is after they lost that game one, the opening game to Chicago, they made some adjustments. They decided to put some of their guys down low, pack the paint, because they were afraid of Derrick Rose driving through too much space and doing his thing. Now, that did leave the 3-point land open. And in game one, Chicago was terrific. They hit 10 3-pointers that game. However, that was it from long range for Chicago. They just went ice cold. Nobody could do anything until that last game. But even then, they weren't very good at crunch time. But you're facing a totally different type of situation here, because if you do that, Dallas has all those options. They've been they're better 3-point shooters anyway with Paige, Dirk, and Jason Terry, and they've been sensational in the postseason. They've been great at crunch time. So I suspect Miami's going to open the series doing that. They're not going to want to get beat down in the low post. But I think Dallas could take advantage of that, and that's going to require adjustments by Miami, which they've been very good at doing in the postseason. One other thing for this series would be depth, which I think is really interesting. This is a very deep Dallas Mavericks team, and they've not been afraid to go to that bench during the postseason run. And Miami, I actually like the bench that Miami has, but they really haven't utilized it that much, and they really haven't got a heck of a lot out of Mike Miller and the 7'3" guy from Cleveland that they got. They haven't used him at all. Although I do like the talent, they haven't utilized it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Ilgauskas is pretty much had it. Joel Anthony's going to give him some good minutes defensively. But look, to me, this is all on the Miami side. It's the big three, plus Haslam, who's made a tremendous difference. Mike Miller can give them some value as well. Chalmers can give you some value. But, I really like what I'm seeing out of Dallas, and I'm very impressed with the way Dallas has played in the playoffs. Look, they've lost one game in these last two series. They swept out the Lakers. They only lost one game to a very good Oklahoma City team. And look, Portland wasn't exactly a walk in the park on paper, and they ended up pretty much handling them. The only bad moment they've had really in the playoffs was blowing that one lead in one of the Portland games. Well, they rebounded from that anyway. So, to me, the thought that this is a walk for Miami is incorrect. I'm actually looking at the Mavericks side here as the value side. I like the way they match up. Carlisle is an excellent basketball coach. There aren't really many comparisons to make from the last time they met in the finals, because so many things have changed. Pat Riley was on the bench versus Avery Johnson. Spoelstra's doing a good job in Miami, so I don't think that they're losing a lot there. But I think Dallas has got a big gain from the last time they met, not to mention the fact that they're a different team on paper now. Chandler is a guy who is playing extremely good basketball. I love his confidence out there. I love his attitude. And he, to me, is everything that Boozer was not in this last series between Chicago and Miami. Boozer, I think he showed, look, I've always thought he was a little bit overrated. I think he's a good basketball player, don't get me wrong. But I never put him in that superstar stratosphere, and yet he's being paid like a superstar. He's a max contract guy. When all that free agency was going on last summer, Boozer was in the conversation with all these other great players. He's a step below that. So is Bosch, for that matter. But they're both really good. But Chandler he may be the most underrated of the so-called big-name guys in the league, because he's not a big offensive guy. I mean, he'll give you some points, but his game is defense, and I think he's going to create issues for Miami this series, and it's going to be a very tough matchup. So is Nowitzki, and again, I go back to the outside shooting. Terry, Stojakovic, the little guy off the bench, who's a flash. He's been a handful for everybody. I got to tell you something. I think Dallas is going to win this series. I know that's definitely a minority opinion, but it goes to the matchups, and even though the regular season's results haven't meant a great deal in the playoffs as far as Miami's concerned, maybe it will here. Maybe we got an indication two regular season meetings that Dallas does match up well against this team. I also think the Mavericks, while Miami's playing their best ball of the year, so is Dallas. So I'm going to go with the Mavericks to win the series. I think it's going to be exciting. I don't think it's going to be easy by any means, but I'm going to take the Dallas side.
I think it's going to be a long series. I think the 2-3-2 format is very difficult for teams to get on a roll in this. I'm going to agree with you. I think Dallas, I'll go ahead and take Dallas in this one. I like the matchups. And take a look at some of the statistical trends, which bettors should keep in mind. The road team, when these two teams meet, dominant, 19-7-1 against the spread. And the Mavericks, when they go to Miami, they're 9-1-1 against the spread the last 11 meetings. That included a straight up win earlier this season as an underdog. I think it's going quite a ways, and it should be very entertaining. And you've got a veteran Dallas team here that really doesn't have much of a window of opportunity, because a lot of the core guys on this team are 32 to 34 years old. So they're going to bring it, because this might be their last roundup at this stage.
A reminder, you'll be able to get individual game selections from both Jim Feist and myself. Jim's office number is 1-866-841-1655. Mine is 1-866-841-1665. So you'll be able to call in on Tuesday and subsequent days to get individual game selections at very reasonable prices, or you can sign up to get the entire finals on a game-by-game basis at a package price. Plus, you get the baseball selections from us. Free plays, they're available via text message. Text winner to 313131 for Jim Feist's daily free selection. Text Kokin, C-O-K-I-N, to 313131 for my daily free selections. You get them back on your cell phone within a matter of seconds on a text message. And that's it. We'll be doing this on a daily basis still throughout the summer, because baseball's ongoing. And we'll be back on Tuesday, probably with a little bit of a breakdown on Game 1. We'll have plenty of time to go through the matchups and come up with something firm for Game 1, plus we'll have baseball as well. Anything else to add, John?
No, but just bring on the NBA Finals. We've been waiting for months.
There you go. It's going to be good stuff. Might be the last time we see the NBA for a while, too, so enjoy it while you can. Yeah. Well, we'll worry about the labor problems of the NBA after the final series. How's that?
And the NFL.
Yeah, not to mention the NFL, for sure. All right, for John Creighton and for Jim Feist, I'm Dave Koken. Enjoy your weekend, everybody, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday here on Proline.